science of theirs is also nothing else but Mullah Nasruddin's twaddle. Now, as regards the first two lower being bodies, namely the planetary body and the body Kesdjan, then, after the first sacred Raskuarno of a being, his planetary body, being formed of microcosmoses, or of crystallizations transformed on the planet itself, gradually decomposes and disintegrates there on that same planet, according to a certain second-grade cosmic law called, again, Tarno Tultur, into its own primordial substances from which it obtained its arising. As regards the second being body, namely the body Kesdjan, this body, being formed of radiations of other concentrations of the tritocosmoses and of the sun itself, of the given solar system, and having entered after the second process of the sacred Raskuarno into the sphere just mentioned, also begins gradually to decompose, and the crystallizations of which it is composed go in various ways into the sphere of its own primordial arisings. But the higher being body itself, being formed of crystallizations received directly from the sacred Theomert Malogos into the solar system within the limits of which the being arises and where his existence proceeds, can never decompose. And this higher part must exist in the given solar system as long as it does not perfect itself to the required reason, to just that reason which makes similar cosmic formations what are called Irankapaic, i.e. such formations for the mentioned most sacred substances as can exist and be independent of Kesdjanian arisings, and at the same time not be subject to what are called painful influences from any external cosmic factors whatsoever. And so, my boy, as I've already told you, after these cosmic arisings had perfected their reason to the necessary gradation of the sacred scale of reason, they were in the beginning taken on to the Sun Absolute for the fulfillment of roles predestined for them by our Creator Endlessness. It is necessary to tell you that concerning the determination of the degrees of individuality, our cherubim and seraphim also then at the very beginning established that still now existing sacred determinator of reason, which is applied for the determination of the gradation of reason, or, more exactly, the totality of self-awareness of all separate large and small cosmic concentrations, and by which not only are the gradations of their reason measured, but there is also determined there, as it is called, degree of justification of the sense and aim of their existence, and also the further role of each separate individual in relation to everything existing in our great megalocosmos. This sacred determinator of pure reason is nothing else than a kind of measure, i.e., a line divided into equal parts. One end of this line is marked as the total absence of any reason, i.e., absolute, firm calm, and at the other end there is indicated absolute reason, i.e., the reason of our incomparable Creator Endlessness. In this place I think it might as well be explained to you further about the various kinds of sources present in the common presences of all three-brained beings for the manifestation of being reason. In every three-brained being in general, irrespective of the place of his arising and the form of his exterior coating, there can be crystallized data for three independent kinds of being mentation, the totality of the engendered results of which expresses the gradation of his reason. Data for these three kinds of being reason are crystallized in the presence of each three-brained being depending upon how much, by means of the being particle duty, the corresponding higher being parts are coated and perfected in them, which should without fail compose their common presences as a whole. The first highest kind of being reason is the pure or objective reason, which is proper only to the presence of a higher being body, or to the common presences of the bodies themselves of those three-brained beings in whom this higher part has already arisen and perfected itself. And then, only when it is the what is called center of gravity initiator of the individual functioning of the whole presence of the being. The second being reason, which is named Okiarta ai Tochsa, can be in the presences of those three-brained beings, in whom their second being body Kesjan is already completely coated and functions independently. As regards the third kind of being reason, this is nothing else but only the action of the automatic functioning which proceeds in the common presences of all beings in general, and also in the presences of all surplanetary definite formations, thanks to repeated shocks coming from outside, which evoke habitual reactions from the data crystallized in them corresponding to previous accidentally perceived impressions. Now, my boy, in my opinion, before going on to a more detailed explanation of how their higher parts were then coated and perfected in the common presences of the first tetartocosmoses, as well as in the common presences of those who were afterwards named beings, it is necessary to give you more information about the fact that we beings arisen on the planet Caritas, and also the beings arisen on your planet called Earth, are already no longer such palormodectic beings as were the first beings who were transformed directly from the tetartocosmoses, i.e., to say, beings called palormodectic, or, as it's still now called, monoinithits, but are beings called Keschapmartnian, i.e., nearly half beings, owing to which the completing process of the sacred Heptaparapashanok does not proceed at the present time through us, or through your favorites, the three-brained beings of the planet Earth, exactly as it proceeded in them. And we are such Keschapmartnian beings because the last fundamental stopinder of the sacred Heptaparapashanok, which at the present time almost all the beings of the megalocosmos called the sacred Ashagi Protoihari, is not in the centers of those planets upon which we arise, as it occurs in general in the majority of the planets of our great megalocosmos, but is in the centers of their satellites, which for our planet Caritas is the little planet of our solar system, which we call Pernochpayoch, and for the planet Earth, its former fragments, now called the Moon and Anulios. Thanks to this, the completing process of the sacred Heptaparapashanok for the continuation of the species, for instance, proceeds not through one being, as it proceeded with the tetartocosmoses, but through two beings of different sexes, called by us activus and passivus, and on the planet Earth, man and woman. I might say here that there even exists in our great megalocosmos a planet on which this sacred law, Heptaparapashanok, carries out its completing process for the continuation of the species of the three-brained beings, through three independent individuals. You might as well be acquainted somewhat in detail with this uncommon planet. This planet is called Modikteo, and belongs to the system of the protocosmos. Beings arising on this planet are three-brained, like all other three-brained beings arising on all the planets of our great megalocosmos, and in their exterior appearance are almost similar to us, and at the same time are, and are also so considered by all others, the most ideal.